after I refused to join a neighborhood beautification project. My neighbor started a campaign painting me as a danger to property values. Even my own nephew joined in, egging my house and posting nasty letters around town. I didn't say a word. I waited. When they tried to host a massive party without permits, I made one quiet call. Watching police show up, shut them down, and fine them $15,000 while they pleaded was the greatest revenge I've ever tasted. I'm Paul. I'm 58. I live in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. Born and raised. I bought my home here almost 20 years ago after my divorce. It's an older ranch-style place, nothing flashy, but it's mine. I've always kept it neat, mowed the lawn, trimmed the trees, painted when needed. I'm not trying to win better homes and gardens. Just trying to live in peace. That peace shattered last spring. A couple named Greg and Felicia Barnes moved in 2 doors down. They were loud from the start. Always hosting backyard brunches. Greg was one of those guys who introduced himself with a firm handshake and wouldn't let go. Felicia smiled too wide, like a politician. About 2 months after they arrived, they started the Cedarburg Beautification project. At first, I thought it was harmless. A few people planting flowers near the neighborhood sign. Volunteers mowing medians. Then flyers started showing up in everyone's mailboxes. Big, glossy things with phrases like, upholding property values, and building a brighter Cedarburg. The flyer listed the new expectations: no chain link fences, grass no taller than 3 inches, approved paint colors only, mandatory $75 monthly contribution. It also mentioned something about community compliance monitors. Sounded like HOA talk, but we don't have an HOA. The flyer ended with, your cooperation is not just appreciated, it's expected. That didn't sit right. I walked over to Greg's the next day. He was watering his lawn like he was auditioning for a commercial. Greg, I'm not interested in this project, I said calmly. I take care of my property, and I'm not paying into something I never agreed to. His smile vanished. His face stiffened like I'd insulted his family. It's not optional if you care about this community, Paul, he said. It's for the good of everyone. It's optional for me, I repeated. Count me out. He nodded sharply, like he was filing that away for later. The first week after I refused, it was little things. People stopped waving. Conversations stopped when I walked by. Then came the flyers. Bright orange letters stapled to my tree and mailbox. Notice, non-compliant property, danger to property values. One morning, I found one taped to my front door. Your refusal hurts all of us. I reported it to the police. They shrugged. Said unless they caught someone in the act, there wasn't much they could do. Then, 2 weeks later, my house was egged. It was around 1 a.m. I heard the soft thwack of eggs hitting siding. I grabbed a flashlight and went out. That's when I saw him. Troy. My nephew. My sister's boy. 22, still living nearby. I froze. He froze. Egg carton in his hands. Troy? Are you kidding me? His face dropped. He looked like a little kid caught stealing candy. Uncle Paul, look, everyone's fed up. You're making the neighborhood harder for all of us. If you just pay the fee and follow the project. I cut him off. Stop. Get off my property. Right now. He opened his mouth like he wanted to explain, but I wasn't hearing it. He left without another word. The next day, I texted him one line, we're done. Don't contact me again. He didn't reply. For the next 2 months, the harassment continued. Someone dumped mulch across my driveway. My mailbox was smashed twice. Flyers kept appearing. The Facebook group Cedarburg Cares was launched. Greg ran it. Felicia was the moderator. They painted me as the neighborhood's biggest problem. I didn't respond. I replaced my cameras quietly. Logged every incident. Screenshots. Photos. Video. Dates and times. Let them think I was weak. Let them think I'd give up. I was waiting. In late summer, Greg and Felicia announced a big event. The Cedarburg Cares Appreciation Gala. They plastered flyers everywhere. Facebook was flooded with invites. They boasted about food trucks, live music, and open bar. The guest list? Over 200 people. And not one mention of permits. I knew they didn't have any. Our neighborhood is zoned residential. No amplified music. No commercial vendors. No selling alcohol. Parking limits. They were too arrogant to think the rules applied to them. For 2 months, I collected every flyer. Took screenshots of every online post. Noted every boast Greg made about the biggest party Cedarburg's ever seen. Then, on the afternoon of the event, I made a single, calm phone call. Yes, I believe there's an unpermitted commercial event happening at 1449 Willow Creek Lane tonight. Food trucks, amplified music, alcohol sales. Estimated 200 guests. The woman on the line thanked me. I hung up. I poured myself a glass of lemonade. And waited. By 7:30 p.m., the music was blaring. Cars lined the streets and even parked on people's lawns. Kids ran wild. The smell of beer and fried food filled the air. At 8 p.m., 3 police cruisers rolled up. A code enforcement vehicle. And icing on the cake, a county health inspector. I sat on my porch. Quiet. Watching. Greg strutted up to the officers like he owned the place. I could hear bits of the conversation. We're just celebrating. This is a private event. We're improving the community. Didn't matter. The police ordered the music shut off. The food trucks were told to close. Guests were told to leave immediately. The DJ's equipment was confiscated. The health inspector started taking photos of everything. By 8:30 p.m., the party was over. And the citation? $15,000. Unlicensed event. Noise violations. Illegal alcohol sales. Health code violations. Parking infractions. Greg and Felicia stood in their front yard as people peeled away into the night. Felicia sobbed. Greg just stared at the ground. I didn't say a word. My nephew Troy was standing off to the side with some friends. His mouth hung open. The next week, Greg tried to rally the neighborhood again. Nobody wanted to be involved. People started leaving the Facebook group. Some even apologized to me in person. Then came the audit. City officials looked deeper into Greg's Beautification project funds. Turns out, he hadn't reported any of the money they'd been collecting. Possible tax fraud. By October, their house was up for sale. They took a $90,000 loss. My nephew tried to reach out. He sent me a long message saying he was sorry. That he'd been manipulated. That he missed our family bond. I didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. I thought it was over. Greg and Felicia put their house on the market. The neighborhood group crumbled. People avoided them in stores. Even Troy's friends stopped hanging around my block. But pride is a dangerous thing. By late October, the for sale sign disappeared. Their house didn't sell. Instead, Greg doubled down. He filed a complaint with the Cedarburg Building Inspector's office against my property. Claimed my detached garage was unsafe and structurally unsound. Said it was a hazard to the community. Even attached photos from weird angles trying to make it look worse. I got the notice in the mail. I could have blown my top. Could have marched down to their house and raised hell. Instead, I did what I'd done all along. I stayed quiet. And I gathered facts. I called the building inspector directly. Come on over. I'll walk you through every inch. The inspector showed up 2 days later. A guy named Warren. We went through the garage together. Looks fine to me, Warren said. Older, sure. But solid. I handed him my paperwork. I'd had the structure assessed 2 years ago when I replaced the roof. Passed with flying colors. Warren shook his head. This looks like a harassment complaint. We see it sometimes. I nodded. Greg Barnes? Warren chuckled. How'd you guess? He closed the case on the spot. But I wasn't done. Not even close. While reviewing Greg's complaint photos, something jumped out at me. In 2 shots, you could see a man standing just inside my fence line. He wasn't supposed to be there. Trespassing. And one picture showed something even more interesting, a metal stake pushed into the ground next to my garage. Looked like someone was trying to mark a problem area. But they'd crossed the property line. That was all I needed. I checked my camera footage from the week the photos were taken. Sure enough, late at night, Greg and another man snuck into my yard. They poked around, took pictures, and left. Trespassing. Illegal survey staking. Possible property damage. I called the police. I'd like to report a trespassing incident and provide video evidence. When the officer reviewed the footage, his eyebrows rose. This isn't just trespassing. They attempted to alter or mark property without permission. That's criminal. I pressed charges. Greg was served a citation and ordered to appear in municipal court. Felicia tried to calm things down. Left a note in my mailbox. Let's not escalate this. We're neighbors, after all. Neighbors don't egg houses. Neighbors don't turn family against family. Neighbors don't sneak into yards at night. I shredded the note. At court, Greg looked nervous. Felicia didn't even come. He was fined. It wasn't much, just under $1,000, but the judge warned him. Further incidents could lead to criminal charges. The best part? When Greg filed paperwork to contest the fine, he accidentally included the wrong document. A payment ledger. It listed every neighborhood contribution he'd collected. Names. Dates. Amounts. And a huge chunk of it? Never deposited in the community's account. It went into a personal checking account under Greg's name. I couldn't believe my luck. I took the ledger to a local attorney. Quiet guy. No nonsense. This is serious, he said. Fraud. Possibly embezzlement. The attorney contacted the Cedarburg Police and the city's Financial Crimes Unit. An investigation started. Neighbors who once backed Greg were now being interviewed by detectives. Some admitted they'd contributed cash that was never used for beautification work. Word spread fast. By December, Greg was facing felony fraud charges. Felicia tried to spin it online. This is a misunderstanding. Paul is exaggerating everything. But nobody was listening anymore. The man who tried to shame me, turn my family against me, and frame me as a hazard? He was now the subject of every whispered conversation in town. I watched from my porch as the police showed up with a search warrant. Greg and Felicia stood in their yard. Snow falling around them. Hands shaking. As they opened the door to let the officers in, Greg looked over at my house. For the first time since all this began, he didn't glare. He looked defeated. I didn't wave. I didn't nod. I just closed my front door. Just when I thought it was over, my sister, Troy's mom, came to my door. I hadn't spoken to her in almost 6 months. She looked worn down. Eyes baggy. Winter coat barely zipped. Paul, can we talk? I didn't say anything. Just stepped aside. She sat at my kitchen table and sighed. Troy told me everything. About Greg. About the money. About how he got Troy involved. I stayed silent. Let her speak. They promised Troy a cut of the money. Said if he helped push the neighborhood to pay up and pressured you, he'd get a few $1,000s. Enough to pay off his credit card debt. I felt something sharp twist in my gut. My own nephew had sold me out for pocket change. She started crying. I didn't know Paul. I swear. He's facing charges too. Accessory to fraud. He didn't even keep the money. Greg never paid him. Troy was looking at probation or worse. All for a man who threw him under the bus the second things went south. Paul, my sister whispered. Can you help him? Just talk to the prosecutor? Maybe get them to go easy. I stared at the table for a long time. Then I shook my head. No. Actions have consequences. She left without another word. By February, the case went to trial. Greg was charged with multiple counts of fraud, trespassing, and falsifying community documents. Felicia faced conspiracy charges. Troy was charged as an accessory but got a plea deal. He'd serve probation and pay restitution. The courtroom was packed. Half the neighborhood came. People who once smiled at Greg now glared at him. I sat near the back. Didn't say a word. When the verdict came in, guilty on all counts, Greg finally broke down. The judge didn't hold back. You abused the trust of your neighbors, committed fraud, and involved young people in your schemes. You'll serve 5 years in prison and pay full restitution. Felicia got 2 years of probation and community service. Troy was ordered to pay back $3,000 and stay away from me for the duration of his probation. A week after sentencing, I got a letter in the mail. It was from Troy. Uncle Paul, I was wrong. I let greed blind me. I ruined the only family I had left. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know I'm going to make things right. Even if it takes the rest of my life. Troy, I folded the letter and put it in my desk drawer. I didn't write back. Some apologies can't undo what's been done. The snow melted. Grass came back green. The Cedarburg Beautification Project signs were gone. The Facebook group deleted. The neighborhood slowly healed. People waved at me again. Some even brought by baked goods, like old times. Quiet apologies wrapped in banana bread and blueberry muffins. But I kept to myself. One calm morning, I sat on my porch with a fresh cup of coffee. A new couple was moving into Greg and Felicia's old house. The moving truck rumbled down the street. The new owners, quiet, polite, waved to me. I waved back. No drama. No campaigns. No projects. Just neighbors. I never raised my voice. I never retaliated with violence. I let their own greed destroy them. And when the dust settled, I was still standing. Sometimes patience is the sharpest weapon of all.